Here we are in turn 4 still. The Mexicans pulled some extra troops down with Santa Anna using, I don't remember what it is, the recruits card. Trist was used to remove a Mexican card, though, from their hand. That pulls the Trist card out of play, which is fine, but then I believe it's the Mexicans played this. No, the Americans played that to launch an attack on Fort Brown again and try to drive the Mexican troops out of there. Well, I went through all the calculations, etc. Firepower for both was 13 after it. With the sappers in the fort, they had a nice advantage, but in the end, the efficiency, the Mexicans rolled a big old 2. Not only is that going to be a leader loss check, but it gave them poor, with their plus for the army, efficiency, and it gave the big 9 ended up giving the U.S. superior efficiency, 7 points of damage to 2. Now, that's a 5-point swing. Sounds like a rout again? No. The U.S. committed heavy amounts of troops, so they took those additional losses. The way the rules are worded, I don't believe that there can be a rout from that. That disturbs me. I'm not sure why, but something feels wrong, as though committing your troops maybe shouldn't count against that. I'm not sure why, but it's just a matter of the battle was a break that was that heavy. I don't know quite what I see wrong with it, but it just feels a little wrong. Anyway, the U.S. is going to get the space back, and our friends, the Mexicans, are going to have to retreat. And they're going to take a lot of losses there. The point swing is going to be fairly large again. There were 5 or more units, and both armies were included, so it's at least 3 points going over there, plus possible losses from the Mexican leaders. Well, at the end, Santa Anna moved up, and Worth slid over into these fortifications here. There's still some risk these fortifications could fall to the Mexicans on a stab, but it's pretty unlikely. They'd be out of supply. They'd be risking their own lines there. There's just not much value to it. And of course, the Americans waited until the Mexicans were done with their card plays. The Mexicans could have passed on their play and not moved Santa Anna up, or maybe built an army with Santa Anna in order, to make him a more effective fighting force. An army slows you down, though, so that's kind of painful. Anyway, the turn has pretty much ended. The points are here. One thing I noticed was last time I did the leader loss checks wrong. You don't add the tactical value on the survival chart. You add it on an initial check. Basically, you have to get a 5 or more to even make it to this table. There's so many different little die rolls, step after step. Why not shift that table a little different? I don't know. They want to handle everything in as fine-grained a manner as they can, I guess. But I just find that kind of not terribly useful when you're talking about someone taking a bullet. It's not along the same lines as, say, all the steps in a Great Battles of History clash, where you really do kind of want the feel for all that. I'm not sure I really care if the leader has a chance of getting a wound, and then I have to roll to see what kind of wound it is. I just have no wound in there, in with the light wounds or whatever, if you want to have that. I don't know. Anyway, it just feels like too much detail for this scope of a game. So now I'm on these end of turn things again, and one big thing is, notice the Mexicans have been chased out of Texas, which means they're not going to be pulling the political will from that. I don't believe the government can collapse, but you know what? I can't remember, so I have to look up again. State in revolt, state controlled, unstable government, current blockade level is now +2. There's a chance of problems. And we get a 2, that's fine. Okay. So, and I'm going to have to look every turn. U.S. is at war, so they don't have to declare war. There's no revolts. And PW for raids. Well, we have one for raids. The Mexicans get a point of political will because of those Indian raids on Texas. But that's the end of the turn. A couple of cards are going to go away. Some events came up that have a reshuffle effect, but only if the event itself is played. So since they were played for ops, that's not going to be the case. Let me come over here and move up into the winter turn. One little known fact about northern Mexico in particular is that every other year, summertime comes before spring. Seriously, it looks like there's a misprint here, and it's only really important because of the heat turn being there. But, well, just something to keep an eye on and not count on those player aids where some of the rules are hidden to necessarily be accurate. And that's one of the problems. You know, when there's a conflict, and there are conflicts in some places between the player aids and the rules, I generally go with the rules first. When you start not putting it in both places, I guess it's safer in there being no conflict, but it really does make life harder on me. Anyway, like those heat turns. Is that in the rules? I don't know. But I like the reinforcement of the player aids supplementing the rules, not replacing them. I guess that's kind of a problem with the cards themselves, though. And once you make that commitment of, you know, I got to put some of the rules on the cards, well, maybe you don't have to put the rules in the rule book if they're on a player aid as well. It's quite possible that this game was designed and GMT said, hey, you know, it's not going to be that complex a game. Make it this many pages of rules. And they cut it down, and it is that complex a game. And unfortunately, when you make decisions based on the size of the rule book, both for straight cost reasons, but also I think because large, thick rule books do tend to scare some players away, well, you may make the game much worse for those very players. All right, up this goes.